Hi, this is Nick. Welcome to ISG, where we talk all things real estate in the Czech Republic. Today we're going to do the final part of our series, Nest or Nest Egg. So as I said in the last video, we were going to look at the spreadsheet that I've made to kind of work out what the difference is between the two ideas of buying for yourself to live in or buy yourself as an investment. I've got a sort of scenario here where we've got £1,000,000 in cash that we're going to spend, and our two different scenarios. So I've just found two random things from S-Reality. This is a 3+1 on the edge of town for 5.6 million. Looks like a pretty decent deal in a Panelak. And then the other one I've got is a small flat in Žižkov, which would be ideal for an Airbnb or maybe a sort of medium-term rental. So if we look at the Nest, first of all, our 3+1 here, we've got 5.6 million in total investment, which would mean a 4.6 million mortgage. Now, the absolute minimum repayment on this is going to be nearly 27,000 a month here, and that's based on a 5.9% interest rate over 30 years. Now, one thing to note is, at the moment, you can rent a 3+1 Panelak in the outskirts of town for around 16,000 a month. So the first thing you're kind of noticing is that you're paying quite a lot more in interest just to own it, just for the ownership of it. Now, if we're expecting prices to rise quickly, then that's not so much of a bad thing, because obviously the value is going up and up. But if we're in a period of time, which I think we are, where we're expecting things to not really go up very quickly, then probably this is quite a big difference to think about. So I wanted to have a look at this idea of a 5-year performance, and I've got like what I feel the value will be. And I feel, as I've spoken about in other videos, I feel that the value is likely to go down a little bit and then start to come up a bit. And I'm sure when it comes up, it will come up quite quickly. So across like a 5-year scenario, potentially we'll see the price going back above what you're paying for it. And during this time, you can see that the amount of our mortgage is going to go down, and the amount of equity we're going to have in the property is kind of changing. So when the value goes down, that the equity goes down. And I've also got this sort of mortgage versus rent calculation here, which shows how much the kind of difference between these two figures, between the rent payment and the minimum mortgage repayment. And we can see here that we end up being sort of fairly out of pocket across these 5 years. I've even taken into account the idea of rents going up over the whole time. But overall, we'd be around 700,000 crowns equity. Our equity would actually have gone down from 1 million to sort of 700,000 in this scenario. Now, this isn't every scenario, so I can't say this is going to be right for everyone, but it's definitely at the moment, I would be leaning towards the idea of getting a nest egg or an investment for the future. So if we look at this apartment here, it's 3.6 million right now, or maybe even 3,550. That means we use 1 million, we get a mortgage of around about 15,500 a month. I think you could rent this sort of apartment out right now for around 18,000 a month, sort of medium term, possibly a little bit more if it was Airbnb, but you do have some additional costs and effort with that. And then that would give us a passive income, which is kind of what we're about. So that would obviously help towards your rent, for example. And also, we expect the property again to drop in value maybe a little bit and then rise up in value again. So what we can see here is that not only is our equity kind of drops and then increases, but we can also see that we've got a cash balance building up. So in this scenario, we're getting here nearly 1.3 million in terms of both equity and cash on our account as we build up this passive income. And that's obviously the mortgage is staying the same or may even come down if you take a sort of a 3-year fix and then the rates are lower in the future. And meanwhile, we're also got building up equity on the property. So in this particular scenario, and I'll put this calculator online so you guys can see it, it would work out that the nest egg is probably a slightly better bet than the nest. But again, it's very specific to how much cash you have to put in, what your personal circumstances are and stuff like that. So thanks very much for watching this series, and I'll see you all again soon.